I'm expecting silver to be much higher by the end of the year. I won't pick a number, but if you told me it was approaching its all-time high even by Christmas, I'd believe it. And that's something that I normally don't say. That's a departure from what I normally talk about. But the fundamentals, the demand, the fundamentals, and here an institution like Goldman telling people to buy silver, look, it's a very small market, it's a thin market, and it doesn't take very much to see it move up tremendously.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with the Miles Franklin Market Update, our weekly call with our president, Andy Schectman. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Really enjoy our time together, Elijah. Thanks for doing this, and it's good to be back with you today.
Definitely. It's great to have you. And before we get into viewers' questions, I wanted to ask you about the recent pullback we've seen in precious metals this week. And also, what is the demand looking like at Miles Franklin?
Well, as far as the pullback is concerned, look, the big pullback, the corrective pullback from the August high, we believe is over. The normal ebb and flow in this market is, look, by nature, it's volatile. And typically when you see markets that are moving in any particular direction, I would argue gold and silver have been moving markedly higher over the last year. There's always volatility. It's never easy. The bull will always try to buck people off. Sometimes you have to have strong fingertips and hang on. The trend is firmly in motion. I think one of the things that we will see is that gold and silver might not go up incrementally. And that's one of the things that people need to, I think, take a step back and remove the recency bias. If you look at what gold has done and silver since, more gold though, since let's call it late 2018, early 2019, certainly in conjunction with the Basel III reclassification of gold, it's been a very incremental rise. I think that we won't see that, if I had to guess, moving forward. I think you're looking along the lines more of something with chaos theory, where the movement we saw in July, where it shot up by 10% in a matter of days, you'll see that on the upside, you'll see that on the downside. You'll see big swings, big moves, and little moves. But the volatility, I think, the noise, will distract many people. To me, I try not to pay attention to the noise. It's interesting to note that when the price comes down, typically our business is greater. The demand is greater. It's for people like yourself and others out there who are disseminating truth and putting out information that allow people to make educated decisions, that has them realizing that when the price pulls back, it's a subsidy of sorts. So our business has been quite strong, Elijah, and I think that in general, this business increases as the price decreases within a bull market. The realization that we are in a bull market and trouble is approaching, those pullbacks are exactly the way to get ahead, Elijah. In fact, if you look at any bull market, any asset class, the way to win is to buy the dips, not chase the rallies. So I think people realize this is noise, and to focus on the trees, not on, or the forest rather, not on the individual trees.
Definitely. And you mentioned that, yeah, we still are in a bull market right now. And some of the bullish signs we're seeing are actually not even having to do with the monetary system at all. Goldman Sachs kind of pointed out that they're actually bullish on silver now because of the solar industry. And they also reported that they're bearish on the dollar. One viewer is actually wanting to know about this. What is your take on these announcements by Goldman Sachs?
I think that when we talk about being bullish on silver, we could break that down in several ways. Number one, I think what they are intimating is they believe that Biden is going to win the election, and they say that because he has a very large push on a green agenda. Solar power, as an example. In California, there was a law passed that as of, I believe it was 2024, every new construction has to have solar power. So the demand for solar energy and the silver that goes into in the solar panels certainly would be, I think it was responsible for almost 20% of the physical demand as is. Now you're going to make a push towards the removal of fossil fuels, assuming he wins. I think that's what they're assuming, and a drive towards green and greener forms of energy. And of course, one of the drums that I've been beating all year, and I think it really bears repetitive mentioning, especially if there's anyone new listening to what you and I are talking about, is the reclassification of gold last April. If you realize that for the last 6,000 years, gold and silver have had a 90% correlation in the way that they move, then if you realize that gold has been reclassified as a tier 1 asset and has been moving up at a very nice incremental pace, it was $1,200 or so, if memory serves me right, earlier in the year, and here we are knocking on $2,000 doorstep. It is outperforming most markets. Silver has lagged, but a move like we saw in July, where it was up $10 in the blink of an eye, is what we have in store for us, I do believe. The silver market traditionally will move after gold moves, and it will move further than gold moved. So I think that the best is in store for us in silver. Quite frankly, I think it is as good of an opportunity as anyone will see in a generation. To me, silver is the play. And when you see a company like Goldman Sachs say, look, we're bearish on currency, we're bearish on the dollar, we're bullish on silver, well, it only adds fuel to that fire and to my belief. So yeah, I think that's very, very probable. I think that silver is one of the few assets, if you look around us, that isn't ridiculously overvalued. When we look at a bond market at the tail end of a 25-year bull market, when we look at a stock market that's at all-time highs with 30, 40 million people unemployed, disenfranchised, and more on the horizon as winter rolls along, companies hanging on by a thread, probably many won't make it through the end of the year. So I think it's very wise to listen to what they're saying in this respect, and I've been saying to people all year, minimize exposure to dollar and dollar assets, accumulate gold and silver more than gold, because it's so tremendously undervalued by just about every metric, especially in its relationship with gold. At a 80-to-1 ratio or thereabouts right now, that's historically way undervalued. It is truly a good value by most every metric. And in particular, you look at gold, it reached its all-time high earlier this year at over $2,000, and here we are at 1,900 and change. Silver, on the other hand, is still priced at $25, 50% of its all-time high. So value, upside potential, a drive away from fiat into tangibles, into commodities, which are all breaking out. If you look at the commodities right now, we're seeing soybeans and wheat and natural gas, and it's all starting to move because I think the big money is realizing the value in commodities. When those commodity indexes really start to accentuate, I expect to see gold and silver really slingshot. And I'm not convinced that we haven't seen, or that we won't see, much, much higher prices, even trending into the end of the year here with a limited time frame. I'm expecting silver to be much higher by the end of the year. I won't pick a number, but if you told me it was approaching its all-time high even by Christmas, I'd believe it. And that's something that I normally don't say. That's a departure from what I normally talk about. But the fundamentals, the demand, the fundamentals, and here an institution like Goldman telling people to buy silver, look, it's a very small market. It's a thin market, and it doesn't take very much to see it move up tremendously. And the movement in July underscores that. So yeah, I think it's good advice. Normally, I would shy away from advice from a giant commercial bank like Goldman, but in this case, I agree.
Now, Dwight is wanting to know about the volatility in the silver market, especially, he says, the silver futures market, and he asks, do you expect there will be limit up or limit down amounts we might see?
Yeah, well, I think that when you talk about where we are in the cycle, and things have been moving up in a very accelerated fashion, they can unravel on the downside also. I do think you'll see tremendous volatility. You could see limit up and limit down, and certainly you could see the exchanges trying to mitigate that volatility by putting those types of limits and stops and mechanisms in to avoid the big problems that will happen. But here again, that's putting duct tape on a broken system. It won't work. The only way that they can hold back a tidal wave of demand is to, I guess in their mind, is to try to do things like that. But in reality, the only way that you can ever manipulate a market is to push it in the direction it is going. And I think that people will or are already beginning to realize that there are very few places left in the ecosystem with value. Commodities are the top of that food chain at this point, and you're beginning to see big money like Ray Dalio and like Warren Buffett and like the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund realize the value in precious metals, and big investors realizing the value in the whole broad commodity index. And so, yeah, I think that with that increase of tremendous amount of money and demand pushed into a very small space, the likelihood of seeing not only increased volatility, but pushback from the exchanges, I think is real.
This one is actually from John. He asks about how a lot of people mention the price of precious metals and that being a motive to purchase them, kind of looking at the profit potential, right? Now, I know that you have talked about so many times in the past that gold and silver are not really investments in the traditional sense, they're wealth. So John is wanting to know, what is your perspective on that gold and silver give us freedom? That sometimes is not always stressed. It's kind of, let's make money on this, right? Let's make a profit. But really, gold and silver give us freedom. I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Well, I mean, they do give you freedom. They give you freedom from the system. They give you privacy. I'll give you an example. In March, I had told my nephew to consider paring down his 401k. I said, listen, with this volatility, maybe go into cash. Just call up your administrator, which was Fidelity, and tell them you want to go out of the investment portfolio that you're in right now inside your 401, which is all equities, and move it into a money market. Just sit on the sidelines for a little bit. He called on a Thursday, spent 2.5 hours on the phone, and finally when someone came back to him, they said, we have to set up an appointment for you Tuesday. You are beholden to the system. When you own precious metals, you are out of the system. You have privacy, you have liquidity, you have demand and wealth, really, that is understood all over the world. And as we've said many times on this show too, gold and silver arguably are the only assets that are not simultaneously someone else's liability. And therein lies the freedom. You are not reliant upon a co-party to give you value for your asset. And so, yeah, I think gold and silver do give you freedom. And I don't look at them as an investment, although I'd be lying if I said I wasn't aware of their ups and downs. To me, it's wealth. And I've been accumulating it every 2 weeks for 30 years under that pretense. And so, I think that is really, maybe if I had to give one word to what gold and silver are, if it weren't wealth, it would be financial freedom, to me, at least freedom from the problems that we see coming down the pike, most of which are tied to the dollar and the current financial system, which I think people will have an awakening of sorts. When everyone tries to run out of the same door at the same time, it doesn't work so well.
Definitely. And that freedom, that having wealth outside of the system is so important. I know a lot of people talk about investing in mining stocks and other things like that. But I think that you've pointed out in the past that kind of having a core position in physical metal is really important. And Brian is asking about that. He's wondering if you invest in mining stocks and what your perspective is on that.
I think this is the time to own mining shares. I think you can make a fortune in them. You don't want to confuse the two, though. They're not the same thing. In a financial pyramid, the same type of model that the Swiss have employed for 300 years, it's a model like this, where the base of your pyramid is your things like your paid off home or cash in the bank, precious metals, physical. The middle portion is something a little bit more speculative. I used to say treasuries throwing off a return, but now they don't. But you could say a utility stock, let's say, a power plant utility stock that is paying a little bit of a dividend, typically a safe investment, and you get a return. The top 10% of your pyramid would be the things like mining shares and cryptocurrencies. But I'll tell you that I think mining shares will outperform precious metals. Gold and silver will do very well. The mining shares will do exponentially well. But with that volatility up, you have the potential of unraveling volatility down. I'll give you an example. In July of 2016, I put, let's just call it $10,000 into First Majestic Silver. It was valued in January around $3.50 a share. By July, it was 17. Gold had done okay that year. Silver had done okay that year, but certainly not six-fold increase like we saw in mining shares. The mining share market is very small. If you took the capitalization, which is the value, of all of the mining shares combined, it would be less than that of Coca-Cola. So if everyone who owned Coca-Cola sold their Coca-Cola and wanted to buy mining shares, there wouldn't be anything left for the rest of us. It is a once-in-a-generation opportunity there as well. You need to be careful with mining shares, however, as you know, it's a tricky investment. My friends over at Sprott in Carlsbad, California, in my opinion, are the best in the business. And I would urge people to call over there and ask for Eric Angeli or Mishka Van Dorp or Anthony Bevlacqua, some of my friends over there, who would be able to answer their questions and help them. And in that industry, it's as much what you know as who you know. And their CEO, Rick Rule, not only knows more than anyone I've ever met in my life in terms of what's going on in the system, but also knows everyone. He's somewhat of the godfather of this industry on many respects. And so I think mining shares, Elijah, should be part of everyone's portfolio right now. I think that it is a home run swing waiting to happen. But let's just remember allocation being important. Do not confuse physical with paper. And, but there's definitely room for it to be in that top 10% of your financial pyramid and outperform the bottom 60 or 70% before it's all said and done.
Definitely. Well, Andy Schectman, thank you so much for answering viewers' questions today and coming on the show. Any last thoughts before we let you go?
I think the most important thing that people should keep in mind is that, yes, this year our stock portfolios have been going up, and a lot of people are wondering the wisdom of buying precious metals when stock market continues to defy gravity. Let's just remember that balance sheet that we are balancing or referencing for value is being measured against a declining currency. The governments of the world are in an outright race to the bottom to destroy the value of fiat currency. And I think the bottom line here, the most important thing is to blow up your life raft. Take a position right now in something opposite the U.S. dollar to sit on the sidelines and watch this unravel. I think we're going to see, before it's all said and done, a dollar much lower, interest rates much higher, stock market and bond market in big trouble, and a whole new system, maybe around a digital currency, and maybe the dollar bills in our wallet hanging from a frame in the Smithsonian. Elijah, I think this is a pivotal time, a crossroads in history. And I do sell precious metals, but I've also been buying it myself every 2 weeks for 30 years because I believe in it. And I think before it's all said and done, people who own gold and silver will be very, very, very thankful that they did. And we'd love the opportunity to work with them, to educate them. And we're very appreciative that you're taking the time to help get the word out, to educate people. And I'll look very forward to picking up where we left off next week and see what's happening as we draw closer to, at least in my lifetime, the most important election, in a very long time in this country. So stay tuned, I guess.
Definitely. And if people would like to give us a call, they can call us at 1-800-822-8080 or email us at info@milesfranklin.com. Andy Schectman, our president, thank you so much for joining us today.
Elijah, thank you. I just thought of one last thing. Let's not forget we're running a special right now on silver, Austrian Vienna Philharmonics at $379 over the price of silver. We think that is as good of a price as will be found anywhere in the country. That's for any quantity. We'd love a chance for those of you who haven't purchased from us. Give us a call. Let us try to earn your business and start with a really good value in the Philharmonics. And Again, thank you, Elijah. I'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Definitely. Andy, thank you so much for your time.
Take care.